Welcome once again. Yesterday, Kenyans exercised their civil and democratic rights by voting for their preferred candidate at the polling units across different cities and counties. The general elections were peaceful and smooth, despite some delays and problems with the electronic kit in some parts of the country. The electoral exercise follows an intense campaign dominated by debates about living costs, unemployment and corruption.
The frontrunners for president are ex-Prime Minister Raila Odinga and current Deputy President William Ruto. The outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta is backing his former foe, Mr. Odinga, after a falling out with Mr. Ruto. News Central's Niyi Omoniyi covers all that happened in this report. We will be taking this report much later, but for now, let's discuss the post-election activities. And joining us this morning for that is a public affairs analyst in Kenya, Maureen Moody. Good morning, Maureen. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you too?
Very fine.
All right, now let's talk about the mood currently in Kenya. What is it like?
The mood since yesterday, people started voting in, has been good. Generally, people are optimistic the exercise will be done and over with. We've had a few cases here and there of some small problems of opening the tallying stations very, very late. The polling stations, the opening was a bit late. So Kenyans had to queue for some time before they could start voting. But generally, people are optimistic, but there are some fears here and there of their security and the violence in some few places, but not something serious.
Well, I think it's also, something that we noted. It doesn't seem like the voting numbers were as many as they were in 2017. So how satisfied are Kenyans following the process yesterday? In over 46,000 polling stations. And also, is there something that may have, stopped Kenyans from coming out to vote?
If I take you back to the campaign mood and how it has been, especially for the two leading presidential aspirants, there's been a lot of tension and conflict in terms of how they were conducting their campaigns. So already the mood had been set on people just trying to think of maybe the anxiety and what might happen. So you realize in some areas where voters were supposed to vote, people travel to their rural homes because they were afraid maybe of conflict arising when they're out there voting. Okay, so the numbers are low. Okay. And as you can see, we have around 12 million voters who have voted so far, and we have 22 million registered voters so far.
That's not very encouraging, but we're hoping that, in the coming elections, there'll be more participation. Let's talk about the updates you've gotten. We know that there are 4 presidential candidates, but 2 are in the lead. But of the 2, which is Mr. Raila Odinga and William Ruto, who would you say is currently in the lead, if there is any at all?
Okay, we might just talk about leads, but you see, we are done with about 8.5% of the national tallies. So the person who is on the lead now is Ruto, but he's at 50.7%, and Raila is at 48.6%. But now with the tally at 8.5, you never know; it could just tilt whichever side. So it's still too early to say anyone is in the lead. We are just hoping for the best, and we are waiting for the rest of the tallies to come in.
Okay.
All right, pretty interesting. We also have joining us Rickson, who, of course, will be giving us updates on the election so far. Good morning, Rickson.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good to see you. All right, so let's quickly also get your thoughts on the electoral process in Kenya and, of course, where they currently stand. Is anything that, sticks out for you?
Okay, on my side, I can say that it has been a good exercise so far, although we have had a low voter turnout in that case. And I think the commission, the commission that will be coming has a lot of work to do in trying to convince Kenyans, and also politicians have a role to play in trying to convince Kenyans to be coming out to vote, because we all know that bad leaders are voted in by good citizens who don't go and vote. So we think that a lot has to be done, and considering at how things are right now, we understand very well what the Constitution says about for someone to be declared a winner at the presidential level must have 50 plus 1%. And up to, I've been looking at it this morning, and I think where we are right now, we still have, we are really uncertain is the scale can fall on either of the sides. Because again, if the leading candidate does not get that 50 plus 1, we have to do a rerun.
Oh, wow. And that's not something that we're hoping for. We do hope that, we have a leading candidate and we don't have to do a rerun because it would cost more money and, more issues. What would you say are some of the reasons that, or factors that can be considered, when we look at the low voters turnout? People
might also mention is that the candidates maybe didn't inspire enough people to want to vote. Because I remember yesterday when one of the things that we had spoken about was the response by certain people who weren't registered to vote or weren't interested in voting. One of the things that they said is that they didn't believe that this process was either going to be free and fair or that it would change their lives. And so do you think for the two leading candidates, William Ruto and Raila Odinga, do you think that they inspired the whole of Kenya to be interested in the elections?
That's a good question, a very good question. You see, Kenya naturally is very polarized in terms of ethnicity. So that also played a lot when it came to these presidential candidates. Another issue was their running mates. The choice of their running mates also really mattered a lot when it came to people just deciding who are we going with. And when you talk about their manifestos that they were bringing on board, people were just trying to dissect and see who is really after our own heart. We also had another candidate called Wajakoya. Wajakoya, despite being not a very well polished politician, people resonated with what he was talking about because he was touching the masses. But again, when it comes to votes, it did translate much in terms of how much on the table voters were bringing for him. So all that were playing factors that were acting up on all these election issues.
Maureen, it's interesting.
It's a game changer, yeah.
It's interesting that you just mentioned, who they choose to be their running mate. And yesterday we did speak about Martha Karua and the fact that she and Raila Odinga were pairing up where, thinking maybe it would be another situation of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and at the end of the day, they would say, we did it, Joe, or maybe in this case, we did it, Raila. Would you say that Martha's influence was felt, in their pairing? Would you say that her influence or her impact in pairing with Raila Odinga was felt in the results of the election so far? And I'm asking Rickson.
Martha's influence was felt, considering we are trying to see what Raila Odinga got from Mount Kenya, where is the backyard of Martha Karua, and we're also trying to gauge it with maybe what Raila Odinga could have gotten from that backyard without Martha Karua. Also putting into consideration the fact that Raila Odinga was also backed up by the president. So, but I think Martha Karua's influence might have given a plus to Raila Odinga when it comes to the female voters. We have those female voters who feel like we want one of our own in leadership. We want also to have a female vice president. And I think Martha Karua's factor has been felt as we can see how things are going. Considering the fact that we say that where we are right now, although I've been looking at the portal this morning and we are almost there, at the portal we are saying that we are almost there because we are past 3 quarters, but we are still waiting to see. And I'll again say this, that in case of a rerun that maybe can come out if the one candidate does not get that 50 plus 1, I think that's when we'll be able to gauge very well. But as things are going right now, I can say that her influence has been felt.
Okay, and final question, Maureen, and this will be on the locations that were initially cancelled yesterday by the IEBC because, of course, equipment or logistics challenges, I guess. Is there any updates on those locations?
I get your question very well, but I'm assuming it's about the cancelled elections.
Yes, Mombasa, the locations that were... Mombasa, go ahead.
Yes, in Mombasa, we have the governor seat. In Kakamega, we also have the governor seats that will not be voted for. And the IEBC has set August 23rd as the day where voters will have to go back to the ballot and just cast their votes in respective to those seats. There are also some other seats that are also in that whole mix. Now that means, again, there will be a lot of campaigning, and we are going back to the whole cycle. I think part of what contributed is maybe some challenges and technicalities by the IEBC, and we hope now going forward they'll be able to know better and do better.
All right. Thank you, Maureen. Thank you, Rickson, for your time this morning. We certainly will be following up with the Kenya elections minute by minute and bringing updates here on News Central Television.